Personally, I think this movie takes the cake for slowest movie I have ever seen. Like, it was so freaking slow. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Dramatology podcast. In this episode, I thought I would cover Emergency Declaration, a 2022 Korean movie that stars really a bunch of big names, like really big names. I guess this is what you would consider like a blockbuster. According to Wikipedia, the synopsis just goes: an aircraft is forced to declare an emergency when an unprecedented terror occurs in flight. That's a really short synopsis, but I guess it kind of explains what's going on. So the idea of like emergency declaration, I guess, is that like once an emergency declaration is made, they have priority over everything. But this movie does it in a like interesting way, like, and I'll talk about this later, of how it did not matter that they declared an emergency. They were still not allowed to land. But yeah, like I mentioned, it stars a lot of big names, right? Really big names that I actually don't know how. I think most of the budget, and I guess with blockbusters, most of the budget is usually on like the casting. So yeah, big names. The very first one is Song Kang-go, who we all know from Parasite, right? That's where he's mostly known for. I mean, he has other big ones like Snowpiercer, but Parasite is like the one that he's really known for these days, right? So he's the biggest name in this. Then we have Lee Byung-hun, who is another huge name, right? I don't know him that well because, first of all, I don't watch a lot of Korean movies. It's just a very different vibe that they go for from their dramas. So I tend not to watch Korean movies. But yeah, I know he's like really popular. He's like top star, high billing kind of like popularity, right? And the only thing I know him for really is Our Blues, which is a drama. And yeah, that's really how I know him, but I do know he's like the biggest, like he's, top tier. Then you have John Do-yeon, our Boksun from Kill Boksun, right? And I feel like her popularity is either coming back, or maybe because I just don't watch Korean movies. I know she's popular in the Korean movie sphere, but she's really veered into dramas these days. So Gil Boksun, Lost, and of course the most popular one of 2022, 2023 is like Crash Course in Romance, right? So yeah, she's also in this. So already three big names. They now add Kim Nam-gil as well, right? Kim Nam-gil is also in this, and we all know him from Fiery Priest, Island. I know him best from Queen Sondok because he plays Bidam in that, and I remember Queen Sondok was one of like my favorite like historical dramas back in the day. So that's really where he's most, like in my mind, that's where I know him the most from. But yeah, he's a big name these days. Like people love him a lot, right? And then he also stars, and it just keeps going. The list keeps growing. Like it's a huge cast. It stars Im Shi-wan, right? Who we all know from like Run On, Missing, The Incomplete Life, Summer Strike. Those are the ones where I like know him from, that I've watched those dramas, right? Triangle as well. I really liked him in Triangle, and really I think it was in Triangle that I first saw him play a character that wasn't like male lead. It was like anti-hero kind of character, right? Because he's kind of playing a morally gray. In fact, he's not playing a really nice person in Triangle, right? But yeah, that was the first time I saw him play such a character, and he was so good in that I was like, oh yeah, okay, I like, he worked well, right? And Im Shan is a very interesting character to me, like in the sense of like his growth as an actor, right? Is very interesting. He reminds me of Choi Woo-shik in that sense of that, like, these aren't actors that are, the conventional attractive like male lead kind of figures. Like they don't have that, look to them, or that even stature, or like, build to them that makes them male lead worthy, and maybe because of that they tend to play more diverse characters, right? More interesting characters. And that's the interesting thing about Im Shi-wan, that he's grown in such an amazing like acting range that he has is fantastic. Like all the dramas I watch, he's always different in every single one. Even in this one, like he shocked me. Like there was a scene where I was super shook, right, by his acting, right? And yeah, he's just fantastic. And I like seeing that, of seeing people that aren't like general male lead looking people, right? But they still do so well. And Im Soo-hwan is like that top tier, other than Choi Woo-shik. But I think Im Soo-hwan is like on that level, you know. But yeah, then this drama also stars Kim So-jin, who I actually don't know in anything other than Through the Darkness, which is funny because Kim Nam-gil is also the main lead in that drama, right? And so it's interesting to see them again in another different project. So yeah, you also have Park Ae-jun, who we all know from The World of Married, right? It was also in At Dark Chronicles, but The World of the Married is like his main big like breakthrough role, right? In my own eyes, at least. But I also remember him from My Beautiful Bride. He was the kind of dirty cop in My Beautiful Bride. And I really like My Beautiful Bride, so I remember him being there specifically. And of course, he was also in My Mister. You can't leave that one out, of course. Like, yeah, so he's also been in a lot of like amazing dramas over the years that like I actually could recognize his face when I saw him in this. And that wraps up like the main cast, like those that are billed as main role in this like movie, right? So it's a huge cast. And honestly, you would think that, or maybe, I mean, this happens, this is a problem with blockbusters, in that they spend so much money on casting that typically the story or like the visuals fail in some way because all the money has been spent on the cast. In this movie, there isn't so much like CGI that's necessary. Yeah, I mean, they're in like a plane and stuff like that, but really those things don't need as much CGI as, you know, other like blockbusters. Really where this drama fails for me is in the story. Like, and when I mean story, I just mean like in how the execution was done. It was just really bad. And I'll talk about that later. But yeah, first thoughts when I first put this on, I saw like a short, like a YouTube short that had Im Soo-hwan in it, and it looked interesting, and people in the comments were like, oh yeah, watch Emergency Declaration, it was really amazing in that. And I was like, oh, you know what, I'll check that out, right? It's very short, it's like 2-hour movie, right? So I was like, I'll check it out. And so that's why I decided, okay, I'm going to watch this. And my very first thought is that Im Soo-hwan can be such a creep. Like, it's funny because it was me seeing that scene where like he basically goes up to the like lady at the counter, right, at the flight counter, and he's asking her all these questions about like what flight has the most people and stuff like that, because, you know, he's trying to like plant a virus, right? He's asking her like what flight has the most people, you know, and she's like, I can't tell you those things, right? And so he walks off, right? And it's interesting the way the camera works in that scene. It like he walks off camera, and you assume he's going to like pan and just continue following Im Soo-hwan, but he doesn't, right? And suddenly Im Soo-hwan comes back into like the shot, and he goes, "You shouldn't smile like that. You look like a whore." Guys, you should have seen. I visibly gasped because there was something about that word, that the way he used it, and I've never seen anyone use that word, and it seems like a really like I've heard people say like all the bad words, right, in Korea, like, because Korean dramas will go to that level, but even Korean dramas, I've never seen that word being used, and I had to like Google it, and it's not a word you want to use, right? Like, it's a really like terrible word, and he just says it in such a way that it was like he was unhinged, like he was gross, like he was like, I don't know, like, honestly, I'm shocked nobody called the police on him in any of his like weird moments in that like airport, because he had a lot of weird moments that I'm like, why didn't she call the police? But I guess it's one of those things where she gets that often that she's just like, yeah, I mean, it's another stupid customer, you know, another rude customer. But it was such a disgusting word to use that I was like, oh my god. But like, Im Soo-hwan does that scene so perfectly, and really all the scene he does after that is something effortless about his craziness. The craziness is displaying, right, in this, that I'm like, Im Soo-hwan, honestly, thumbs up. Like, he always impresses me. Like, I just finished watching Summer Strike a few like months ago, and I'm also impressed in that, because again, something so effortless about his acting that I just really love it, right? And so first thought when I saw that scene, the minute I saw that scene, I was like, oh, this seems like it would be good. Like, this seems like I will enjoy it a ton, right? But shockingly, I'm actually not a fan, unfortunately. And this is not anything to do with like the story. The story is very good. It's common. We've seen this a billion times. Like an issue on a flight is something that's been done a billion times. This is not a new concept, but like you can execute this well to make it really, really good, right? To make the climax amazing and stuff like that. This movie does not have a climax. This movie it just does not have a climax, which is part of the problem. They were not able to make the climb, right? The subtle like climb to that point where they get to a climax, and then we get that relief, right? There was no climax. It was just kind of flat throughout, right? Like if you think of like a flat hill, there was no mountain. And that's the shameful thing about this. Like it's just not good. That said, before I go into why I like disliked this movie, and why it did not work for me, I will say that I did enjoy some aspects of this movie. There's a lot of human aspect to this that I found very interesting. Like, so when they are like in flight, right, and it's been found that there's a virus on the plane, they've gotten to like Honolulu at this point, right, and that's where the US government tells them that they have to like turn back and go back to Korea, right? And they try to land, right, and the US is like, no, you can't land because you have a virus. And there's a sense of kind of like I was pissed about that, but I could also understand the human fear involved with that, right? And this movie kind of explains it, that like people are scared of the unknown. So like a virus like that, I'm not shocked that the US told them to go back. It was sad and was kind of maddening and annoying. And also when they got to like Japanese waters as well, which I mean Korea always does this, and I'm shocked they can do this so often. But like how I don't know how else to explain it, but how every nation has their big bad. Right. I feel like Korea's big bad is Japan for obvious reasons, like for, historical reasons, definitely the way the US has like the Middle East, right? Every country kind of has their big bad kind of villain, or the villain that they default to. And in this, like for Korea's case, it's always like Japan. But yeah, Japan also tells them to turn back. Which again makes sense to me. There's a point where they also get back to Korea, and even Korea is like, nah, like stay on there, and I don't know what the rationale is when they go back to Korea, and Korea was like they shouldn't land, because what's going to happen is like the plane is going to crash at some point, right? And the virus is going to be spread, So I'm not sure what the rationale is, or maybe there isn't supposed to be rational. Maybe it's just that people are crazy and they're irrational and they just don't want that plane to land. But I couldn't really figure out what they were going for when they said, oh, like the protesters were like protesting, no, don't land. I wasn't sure what it was, and I also wasn't sure why everybody on the flight was like, yeah, let's not land for the sake of our family, blah blah blah. I'm like, I'm not like, are you going to go and land in the middle of the ocean? Like, sorry, not land, but where are you going to crash into? Like, where at some point your plane has to crash, right? So where are you going to crash? Are you not going to crash in like the Korean like peninsula? Like I was trying to understand that part. But yeah, that part of the story was actually makes sense to me, because I am the kind of person that I'm very jaded, and I do think people are evil when they need to be. Like people turn into like monsters when push comes to shove, right? So I wasn't shocked that happened, and that element of like, they did not have enough international relations to get that plane to land, even in Korea. But yeah, so that was a part of the story I was like, yes, I actually like that they put that in. It was very good. But really, that's all I have for like the good aspects about this movie. The biggest flaw that this movie has, it's that it's so freaking slow. Like, I have never seen a slower, like, action movie. And I don't know if it's supposed to be action, but I think it should be action, right? That's really how you keep people watching something like this. It's supposed to be action thriller kind of like, movie. And oh my God, this movie is slow. And I mean slow in like, not the sense of that the story is slow. The story is good. It's a good premise, good idea. But oh my God, the characters in the movie are so freaking slow. Like, I've never seen slower execution of like when you find out there's a virus. Okay, let me go back to when they first find out that like there's a possible issue with one of the flight passengers, right? So the police, played by Song Kang-go in this, right, gets the tip, right? And I mean, of course, like police get tips like this often, and they have to like sift through pranks. But at the point where he finds out that there's a dead body, like they actually find a dead body in this guy's apartment, the very first thing they should have done was call the airport and try and find out the status of that plane. Get it to turn back, because at that point, most likely the plane would not have entered US airspace or even Japan airspace. They probably would still be in Korean airspace. But oh my God, they take their time in first like going through his apartment, calling the investigation team, going through like his videos and trying to find. That's when they actually get to the point where like, okay, we should probably go to the airport and tell them that there's a possible virus. No, the minute you found a dead body in that guy's apartment, what they should have done was call the flight and tell them that there's somebody that should not be flying because there's a dead body and he's a suspect on that flight. But no, they don't. They take their time, because if they had called them the minute they had found out that there's a suspect on their plane, and this is not a suspect that you're thinking, oh, he has a virus. At this point, they don't know there's a virus or this guy has planted a virus, right? They just know that there's a dead body in his house. And so by like just police work, you should be able to be like, okay, because this guy is obviously a suspect in possible murder, turn back the plane and have him land back in Korea because he has to be in custody, right? But they don't do that. They wait to go through all these videos. Because, I mean, if they had done that, right, the good thing is that they would have been able to work in parallel. As the plane is turning back to go to Korea, the investigation team would have also been, working to go through the videos. And so maybe at some point they would have gotten to the same conclusion. Just as the plane is landing back in Korea, they would have found out, oh, there's a virus on it. But I guess, again, for, like, movie effects, there has to be that, like, they don't find out until they're, like, in US soil kind of thing, right? So that was the very first thing that I'm like, that was very slow. And very like I kept making this orange gesture with my hand, like what are they waiting for? Like, hurry up, call the airport or something, right? But they never do, right? They wait till the very, very like last moment to go to the airport and call them. That was the first gripe I had with the police officer, right? Then the second one I had, again, just slow work, was with the minister and just even everybody in like the Korean government, it seemed at that point, because when you find out there's a virus, there's a sense of like urgency to these things, right? The minister and his folks, like, they seemed super inexperienced, especially the minister, right? Like, they seemed super inexperienced. The minute they found out that like Bicom had anything to do with this thing, they should have had like freaking SWAT. I've seen SWAT in Korean dramas. They have SWAT, right? They should have had SWAT, because this is terrorism at this point, right? Bicom is like basically harboring terrorist kind of like intentions, whether they know it or not, right? But like, that's what they should have had, SWAT at that like company, right? But no, they go there with like a few police officers and they're literally fighting Bicom security. Like, what the hell, right? It seems so inexperienced. Like, there's a literal virus on a flight. Like, I feel like flights are like everybody's weak point. Nobody wants shit to happen when there's a flight, right? We all want the flight to go well, right? And so the moment where like she even goes to them at the end, where she goes to them and she's basically giving a speech, I'm like, what speech? Freaking go in and like push through, beat people if you have to, like literally like arrest everybody. Honestly, because I was like, why is this taking them so long? Everything just took so much time. And I was just like, what is going on? Why is this so slow? People were walking. People should be running, right? They should be running because this is a big like situation that's going on. But no, everybody's taking their sweet time. Oh my God! Like, people were walking. People were like, I could not understand. And so I was really pissed about like the minister as well. Like, she wasn't giving me experience vibe. Like, she didn't seem experienced, right? And so when they fired her at the end, like when she mentioned that she resigned, I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure they made her resign for other bureaucratic reasons, but in my mind I was like, yeah, she should be fired, because she obviously doesn't know what she's doing, right? They need a more experienced minister to like take control. Also, I have to just say one other thing about the minister. So I don't understand how it's the Minister of Land, Infrastructure and Transport that was like on this. Where's the Minister of Defense? That's what we need, to freaking push people around and do like actual work. Because I was like, it's like calling the Minister of Environment when you have a biodegradable weapon like planted in the ground. Like, where is the minister that's supposed to actually put people into action? And maybe the minister was there and I just didn't notice, because the Minister of Land was like she was one in the main role. But that was another gripe I had. Like, what is she? I get it if she was like the side minister that was like there to give advice to the Minister of Defense because she would know the most about like transport and stuff like that. But honestly, where's the Minister of Defense? That's what I want to know, right? There's the Minister of I don't know what that execution arm is, but where's that minister, right? That can like call all the SWAT, call all the police all at once, right? Where is that minister? So yeah, that was like the part of this movie that I was like, gosh, why is everything so slow? Right? That's just the issue I had. Everything just seemed so slow, right? The only person that was working at any quick pace was the villain. He had planned it well how he was going to like infect everybody, and he did it with good execution. But everybody else was acting kind of like chickens, headless chickens, just running around and not really knowing what to do. And it was kind of like, I guess maybe Korea has never had a terrorist situation. Like, this is not the US or anything. But I don't know. I've watched so many blockbusters of this kind that I know how urgent things like this should be. Right. And so you can't really call this an action, right? Because half the time people are just talking, which I'm not against. Like, I understand the idea that like people should, talk about the situation. How will we fix this? But as you're talking, you should be able to like be executing other people, to delegate other people to do other things. There should be like an arm, the SWAT, being a BICOM, trying to break it immediately and going through everything. Not that, the minister also has to walk to BICOM and go and, go to the gate and go and talk to like what, right? That's what I'm saying. Like this movie just feels in that sense, which is unfortunate because good premise, good everything, but it just fell flat when it came to execution. The characters were just super slow, and it just gosh. I don't know what to say. It could have been way better, but But yeah, so that was my biggest gripe with this movie that made it kind of, I don't give it a high rating. It has an 8.5 on my drama list, and honestly, I would give it like a 7. Like, it's not good other than the big names and the good acting. Honestly, just bad for me. And it was so bad I had to go watch a different blockbuster. I just had to go watch a different like Asian blockbuster because I needed that like high. Because this drama had no high. It had no point where there was like that climax, to me at least, right? Which is a problem when I can't find your climax, right? I can't find your build up to the main scene or something. Like, this drama just did not have that, and it was unfortunate. But yeah, some people enjoyed this movie, like, because I watched this via like a movie short. Like, I saw people talking about it on a movie short, and they were like, oh, it's such an excellent movie. Well, actually, they did not say it was an excellent movie. They said Im Shi-wan's acting was great in Emergency Declaration. I should have known that was like what they meant. Like, they actually just meant Im Shi-wan was great, and really the casting and the acting in this is great. It's the story that fails. So yeah, I don't think I would recommend this movie to anyone really. If only, I mean, you can watch it if you want to see like the big names, and like, again, Im Shi-wan's acting in this as the terrorist is amazing, right? But again, other than that, really, there's no reason to watch this. There are other better stories. There are better dramas, in fact. And these are dramas that are going like freaking 16 episodes long that just do a better job at this. But yeah, that's really my review of Emergency Declaration. Not a success. I give it a 7. And that's me being like biased towards Im Shi-wan and other like big names in this, right? But really, it's not that good. It's really not that good. But yeah, so if you want to check it out still, please do. Tell me what you think. I am on Reddit at u/dramasology. Tell me what you think. And if you disagree with me, tell me why this movie was amazing to you. I want to know why, because it really wasn't that good, unfortunately. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Have a very, very nice day. Bye.